All right, another big model release, Claude Sonnet 4.5, incredible coding skills. It's going to go head to head with GPT-5. There was a quiet quantum breakthrough that you missed, and I'm going to fill you in. We're going to talk about whether or not it's crossing a line when you use deepfakes of celebrities that are already in the public eye for educational purposes. Got to catch you up on the craziest new things robot hands can do. We're starting to get there. The uncanny valley of fingers, robotic hands and fingers is almost crossed. Did you know Google's Genie can actually go into famous paintings and then just render the rest of the scene behind, to the side, wherever you want to go? It's so amazing. It's just, I couldn't stop looking at it. Like, when did 2D paintings become 3D navigatable universes? Like, you can even see the cook back there. YouTube Music has a new AI hub, but the craziest thing to me is that actual DJs like pop in between the songs. Yeah, personalized AI radio DJs. I don't think I need this. So I can't tell you what exactly qualifies as an emotional prompt, but if what you say to ChatGPT does qualify, you actually get routed to a new, stricter language model now. So the up-and-coming AI actress Tilly Norwood is now in talks with an agent to be a part of major studios. Yeah, seriously, multiple Hollywood talent firms represent her. Not real, AI, but so real to so many people now. We're going to talk about what exactly world models are and why they're the key to the next big AI leap. We're going to have some opinions where physicist David Deusish argues that true general intelligence actually starts with having your own story, like we all do. And then end with a debate about how countless species are dying from human-induced environmental changes, and because of that, should we use genetic technology to alter and save them, or is that a line we shouldn't be crossing? AI is giving us the power to edit nature. We gotta be careful with it. First, the most important thing you could do is, if you are on YouTube right now, especially mobile, it doesn't always show up on desktop, is press the hype button. I know it's hard to find. If you go to the comments and swipe to the right, it's usually there. Sometimes it's kind of popped up in different areas. Most people find it on mobile. It has to be a channel with under 500,000 subscribers. It has to have been uploaded within the last 7 days, which it has, and it has to be a long form video, which this is. Now, you only get 3 per week on Monday mornings at 12 a.m. local time. They refresh your ability to hype, but it disproportionately helps smaller channels like mine. I would love to get this channel like 100,000 subs or something. And then I could like actually do this like pretty much full time, but until then, a hype makes a huge difference. More important than a comment, a like, anything. If you don't mind hyping this video, and if you use the word hype in your comment, I will come down and I'll make a point to respond to all of them. So I've spent a lot of my day today just replying to anyone who used hype in the comments. Claude Sonnet 4.5. This thing is the top LLM for the moment, especially when it comes to software engineering. You can see GPT-5 and their Codex model doing pretty well, but still 4.5 Sonnet taking the cake on the SWE bench. And it's a big flex on long-running real-world work. Beyond the headlines, 30 hours of autonomous coding. It cranked out a full 11,000 lines for a Slack-style app that it built. The release focuses on agents that can actually use a computer. So this can be a Chrome extension. It can navigate Docs, Sheets, Gmail, all via this Chrome extension. And it can handle multi-day tasks thanks to smarter context and memory. So agentic coding, operating system use, real-world use. Anthropic is really pushing it right now. But this experimental mode that they also launched, something called Imagine with Claude, that's one of the most interesting things. So that's where a model builds software on the fly, actually without writing the code first. I know that sounds weird, but instead of spitting out source files, it, quote, dreams up the app into existence and then updates it live as you interact with it. So this could be a new way to build software. Now, I haven't seen anybody actually play with it yet, but if this holds up outside of the demos, it's not just faster coding, it's a different paradigm. And yeah, if building software becomes something that you can just describe and then use, that's so different. And you can also start to expect more value from knowing how to steer agents safely and precisely and handle data security. than you will being a programmer on its own. You got to move up the stack, I think. I mean, here we are at Sonnet 4.5, agentic coding, top of the charts, tool use, top of the charts. Not beating GPT-5 at multilingual Q&A or visual reasoning, but it did edge out a win here in financial analysis. So we got two very capable models going head to head nowadays. So while you weren't looking, there was a big quantum breakthrough. IonQ has hit this big milestone. They have managed to convert photons from visible light into telecom wavelengths. So kind of get your head around this. They use this system, this trapped ion quantum system, to convert the photons of light, even though light's kind of a wave and a object, it's quantized, but they were able to take it and then convert it into telecom wavelengths. That's the same kind that run through today's fiber optic cables. This means quantum computers could soon communicate across existing internet infrastructure. It's hard to explain how big of a deal that could be. It allows quantum to now just not be something that's in some like specialized room, but it can be networked together. And that's a huge step towards the sort of much hyped quantum internet that people wondered if we'd ever get. And a lot of people weren't really sure if this was actually going to require a whole new infrastructure for this kind of quantum communication. But now we sort of know. We can just use fiber optic cables that already run under the ocean and connect the whole world. So ultra secure communications like quantum encryption is potentially possible. The kind of problems that classical computers can't work on, drug discovery, financial modeling, weather prediction, that could actually be something that like really gets networked together in a way that gives it an amplifying effect we didn't expect in the next 4 or 5 years. So maybe we will live in a world where quantum tech actually affects our everyday lives. All right, so I have been following this guy or girl on Instagram, and they have been making interesting deepfakes. Now, they're using them for a purpose which seems like reasonable, but they don't own these identities, right? Like, they don't have rights from Shaquille O'Neal or Sydney Sweeney or Olivia Rodrigo. Oh, and Mike Tyson's in this video. But then again, if it's like a parody and you're using it for educational purposes, I'm sort of inclined to want to share it, but then I don't want to play into deepfakes. And you can see they have this disclaimer here, like it's important you don't think that it is really them. But when you're watching it at first, it does feel like I definitely thought that one with Shaquille O'Neal was actually real for a second. And then, of course, knowing my feed, which is like super tuned to like all this like AI deepfake stuff, I should have known. But I'm curious if you think this is crossing the line. I'm just trying to get a read. Maybe I should do a poll on my channel. But is this okay with you guys, or is this too much?
Well, that's such a weird shape. How would you find the volume?
Hey, listen, first thing we should do is find what the cross section is.
That's right, Mike. So do you see how every single slice of this shape is just a circle?
Yeah.
Okay, and what's the area of a circle?
Pi r squared?
Right, but notice r, the radius, is just the height of this function, so it's actually f of x.
Why?
That's how functions work, remember? Whatever the x value is, the function's height is just f of that.
Oh, so would the area then be pi times f of x squared?
Absolutely.
And if
Maybe the Sydney Sweeney one would be good to react to.
This 3D vector, 4i plus 3j plus 3k.
Yo, I already learned this in school. Isn't it just the square root of the number in front of
the I squared plus the number in front of the j squared plus the number in front of the k squared. Yeah. But do you even know why?
Not really.
Why even go to school then?
It's not a big deal, Drake, chill. So remember, finding a vector's size just means finding its length, right?
Right.
And our vector r goes 4 steps in the x direction, 3 steps in the y, and 3 steps up in the z direction.
Sydney, wait. I want y'all to notice that there's like 2 right-angled triangles here. One standing up and one on the floor.
Right? And to find the length of r, we can start by finding the length of this side that's in both of them. Any idea how?
Okay, I probably watched that for too long. All right, you ready for Wuji hands? Wujai hands? This is a new human-sized robotic hand. Coming out of China, it has 20 fully articulated joints. It is, crazy to just see it moving. I mean, I don't know how to describe it, but with the glove on, it looks like closer to, not a human hand. I can tell it's like bending a little bit weird, but it looks like it's close enough to do basically the things that I do with my hands. Like, you can use scissors, and I guess I don't really start lighters very often, but sometimes I have the capability of it. And then holding a pen, I remember doing that a lot more before my computers. So doorknobs, get ready. Putting on shoes, totally possible. Grabbing cups, I guess. All, doing dishes, washing dishes. This could be the hand for that. Like this commenter says, ChatGPT about to get even more useful. But yeah. That pinky extra long. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now I can't not see it. Definitely made the pinky. I wonder if they made all the fingers, or at least the 4 that aren't the thumb, the same length to make it more, like maybe more trainable or something. Here it is using a remote control. Here it is without the glove on. Peace, rock on, whatever that other sign is. Just waving at people. Scissors. Jeez. Okay, I just had to share this video. I know we already covered Google's Genie 3 a little while ago. It's like VO meets video games, and you can move around, and diffusion models just create backgrounds and things that aren't there, but stylistically taking a famous painting and then walking around it just blows my mind. Like, look at the kitchen back there, and then it's like, okay, let's make a whole city in this style. Like, now I have this weird sense of depth that there's like that street is going on. It captured the nighttime. It had the right sort of lanterns. And it even just built the building next to the diner. I don't know. It's kind of shocking to me. And I got a feeling like all these 2D things, they can just imagine the world around it in a way that's going to change the way we interact with stuff. Like every 2D magazine and photo. All right, so AI YouTube Music has rolled out, or in the AI Hub, they call it, inside of YouTube Labs. They are experimenting with this fresh new AI feature, and it is an AI music host. So basically AI voices that chime in during radio or playlist sessions with stories, trivia, and commentary about the songs you're hearing, just like a traditional DJ on the radio would. What do you think about this? Is this something anybody asked for? I could believe a bunch of people do love this. I don't think I do, but that doesn't mean everybody wants to just listen to music on a playlist without somebody in between to kind of pop in there and give it some spice. But that is how it used to be. That's how like basic radio DJs always used to work. So it could be a throwback, and maybe people are going to love it. And it could, kind of good to hear the name of the song. Like there's so many songs I think in the last, 5 or 10 years that I've heard that I think I like. And I honestly don't even know what they're called. I have to use Siri every time. I'm like, what's the name of this song? And go find it. Or I type in the lyrics into YouTube and hope it comes up. But I mean, it's basically YouTube starting to blur the line between music streaming, storytelling, the listening experience. It's maybe going to become more conversational in the future. I mean, you could probably talk back to the AI hosts, the personal touches, the narratives. What do you think? So if you remember a couple of videos ago, I was covering the Audible update, which makes it so audiobooks can sort of have LLMs built into them. And I was pretty uncomfortable with that because when I think about an audiobook, especially like nonfiction stuff that I listen to a lot, but even fiction, it's an author that spent years kind of refining every paragraph the way that they want it. So you can summarize it with an LLM, or you can ask questions about it. But in terms of summary, it seems to me like then you're ruining what they were trying to convey. Like the long form of it might be part of what it is, right? You can get a summary of it, and it's just different. It's just not what they painstakingly laid out and thought about. And if there's a way for them to make money from, their ideas and thoughts, and everybody's on board with it, I'm not opposed. I do kind of like using an LLM on books sometimes to just help me when I'm lost. Can you just remind me who's this character again? Like, I think I missed something. Here, I have a question. As long as I know that I'm kind of leaving the audiobook and then coming back to it. Also wanted to share with you that OpenAI has quietly introduced a new system in ChatGPT that reroutes sensitive or emotional prompts to a stricter, more controlled model. And it does this often without telling users. So the convenience of GPT-5's interface is that it does sort of route you to different models. It thinks longer on hard questions, and if it's an easy question, it gives you a quick answer. But this is a little bit different because this is a safety router. So it's meant to step in when conversations like get too personal, they get too emotional, or they start touching on risky topics. So what are your thoughts on this? It's clearly there to protect people, especially in moments of distress. And some users say it's good for that, but others say it's kind of patronizing or giving kid gloves when they're trying to like think deeply about something or go deep into their emotions. You know, it's not perfect. Like there's some evidence that relatively harmless queries can, prompts can sometimes trigger the switch. And part of it is just that ChatGPT sounds too good at being human. So they want to make sure that people kind of, when they start getting connected to it, move to a model that's a little bit more like, hey, I'm a model. Like I'm not going to talk to you with like that same human tone because, you're starting to treat me like I'm too human. But it highlights that tension that's going to matter more and more as AI becomes more lifelike, as we want it to be more supportive and empathetic, when we trust it with more and more of our information and our emotions. All right, so let's have a conversation about this woman. She does not exist, but many people feel a strong connection to her. She is an AI avatar that has a brand that rivals a lot of not Hollywood level people yet, but she's like breaking into that. Certainly a powerful social media influencer in her own right.
AI generated by some company called Particle 6. She'll do anything I say. I'm already in love. Girl next door vibes.
Like if a Sunday roast went to drama school and got BAFTA optimized.
But can she cry on Graham Norton?
Of course she can, and it'll be clipped, subtitled, and monetized on TikTok by lunchtime.
We're all going to hell. Got recommissioned, didn't it?
3 seasons and a podcast.
By an AI commissioner, much faster.
But hey, at least it wasn't a reboot.
All right, so what do you think? This woman, is fictional, but she is an actress with a fully developed personality, voice, a backstory. There's limits on what she's allowed to sort of say and do, like a human caring about her own image. And Hollywood's reaction has been pretty swift and pretty harsh about the fact that she might be getting some serious money and starring in some serious movies and dramas soon. So a bunch of established actors are condemning the idea. They're calling for boycotts of agencies that sign AI characters. They're warning that such creations threaten the essence of the job and real performance work. And there's even debates about what it is. Is Tilly a new tool, or is it a piece of art, or is it like not a replacement? Is it an innovation like an animation or a CGI? But somebody might pay a lot of money to have the IP for this, living star. She doesn't age. Like you saw in the preview, she can cry on demand. She can be cast in many different ways. The future is like something like Hollywood movies, but everybody gets generated their own. I guess, why would it matter? There's also this whole aspect of a bunch of people who are older saying like, oh, when I was, some of these stars that were super famous when they were like teenagers, or people like a Sean Connery type, or someone like some of the older versions of James Bond that sort of aged out of it. You could bring them back and you could create content around that. And then, you could pay the IP for that. And all these actors and actresses from the past could come back and they could merge and mix with real and fake. And I guess if the money's there, if it's engaging for people to see Tilly or an older actress back in the saddle, then that's probably what we're going to get. But from people who know more about the industry, here is a little bit of pushback.
Hansen and multiple agencies are circling Tilly Norwood. Well, let me be the first to assure you that is absolute total rubbish, garbage trash. And that's for 2 main reasons. And surprisingly, one of those reasons is not the gross attempt to replace a human's job. And that's because that's actually not what's going on here. If you know a lot about AI and you know what it's like to work in Hollywood, it's really easy to spot what this company Particle 6 is up to, which is nothing. This company does not have what it needs to generate real profit from an AI star. Sure, maybe in a few years, AI video generation will be there and be good enough to generate an AI star. But today, we are not there. And I personally think it has a long way to go. It's like if you saw a magician pull a rabbit out of a hat and we're like, oh my God, people can pull animals out of hats. And what you don't realize is he can only pull rabbits out of hats, and they're only white rabbits. And also they're only cotton-tailed white rabbits, and they're only top hats that he can pull them out of. Also, he's the only one who knows how to do the magic trick, and he won't teach anyone else how to do the magic trick. And actually, it takes a city's worth of power to pull a rabbit out of a hat. And it's not magic. The commodity that Particle 6 is selling here is AI hype, based on the idea that most people think that animals can be magically pulled out of hats.
So maybe it's a little overhyped. We'll take everything with a grain of salt. But I'm sure the question of what counts as authentic is a story that we'll be talking about for many years to come. So I just got done reading A Brief History of Intelligence, Max Bennett's book, and there was a lot of comparisons to world models. So I wanted to make sure that we got our heads around that. We're kind of on the same page. So luckily, the Wall Street Journal covered this also, so it's a good timing. I can talk about it at the same time they publish about it. So this article goes into today's AI systems and explains how they're essentially book smart. They're great at pattern matching from languages, images, or data. But the reason why GPT-4, sometimes if you say something like you're in a basement and you look up, what do you see? And it would say, I see stars, not realizing basements, have ceilings, was because even though it got all the right token predictions right, and it made a great sentence, it didn't imagine up a world from your words first, and that would have given it more context. But that is starting to come, and that means these models have world models. So that would be a little bit different. Like, imagine you prompt ChatGPT, and when it's thinking about its answers, it almost like boots up an imagination, like something like a 3D model, like a physics simulation of what you're saying. Like, it tries to represent physical reality, including time and physics and causality, to think about what you said to it and then to think about what it's going to say back to you, so that there's so much more information behind the words. This allows AIs to reason, to plan, and sort of act more than just kind of predict. Even if it's a long string of tokens that makes a lot of sense, it's not a full world model. And these models, those are starting to work, and they're showing promise in robotics, drone control, self-driving systems, and simulated environments. So in effect, AI is given a sense of street smarts that it can learn by interacting with the world in its own mind, in its own imagination, in its own simulations. And that's kind of what I think it feels like for me to think about the future. I sort of simulate, what if I go over there and say that? What would that person say back to me? If I write an email like this, how might they interpret it? There's so much just implied, because me and whoever I'm sending an email to, supposedly another human, is in the real world, has, grown up in the real world, understands culture similar to me. They have a sense of gravity. They have a sense of politeness. All that stuff is just baked in without me having to say anything. So AI can essentially practice in virtual worlds before it talks back to us in its own mind. And that is a world model, and that is starting to happen. All right, next, let's talk about a physicist, and I'm going to butcher his last name, but it's David Diutsish. I don't want to say it the way I keep saying it because that's inappropriate, but he is arguing that true general intelligence starts with having your own story. And to me, this lines up a lot with how I feel like I sort of came online. So David is arguing that true general intelligence isn't about passing tests out or cranking out solutions. It's about having a personal story. So humans, he says, don't just turn motivations into actions like machines. We actively choose what matters to us. We shape our own paths, and that's what makes human intelligence different from running software. Now, we've seen a push for AI systems to be able to stop conversations when they get uncomfortable, but this claim goes a bit bigger than that. This is the idea that intelligence is defined less by problem-solving power and more about the ability to decide which problems are worth solving in the first place. And that is the story. And he points to a quote of OpenAI Sam Altman, who suggested that if there's a future where AI solves quantum gravity and it explained why it chose that challenge, then he would say, okay, this is AGI. This is artificial general intelligence. And to me, and let me know in the comments if you agree, but intelligence, it's not just about being smart. It's about having values and direction and probably an internal narrative. The difference between AI as a tool and AI as a true mind, it might come down to storytelling. All right, so let's talk about editing nature. The DNA that we're made of, the biological world around us, it is starting to be understood understood like a language to large language models like ChatGPT and some of the more advanced AI systems. With CRISPR, the ability to actually go in and make edits is going to give us the power to change the biological world around us. That is such a big responsibility. And we've already done a lot of damage without, not on purpose, but just through industrialization. There's countless species, as it says in this article, that are dying from human-induced environmental changes. Should we use genetic technology to alter them, to save them? Where should we draw the line? And this Aeon essay really explores whether humans should intervene in evolution using technologies like CRISPR. I personally have found some places where I would probably be comfortable with it, but the way it was executed, the reasons it was executed for, it's very specific. But if you want to talk about using CRISPR to save a species that's threatened by climate change or from human impact, seems a little bit different. If you want to build a Jurassic Park to make a bunch of money, seems like a lot of trouble, and you shouldn't be doing stuff like that. Although, don't get me wrong, it would be wild to see dinosaurs back on Earth. But this article argues that we've already profoundly shaped evolution, intentionally or not. So avoiding it altogether might simply mean accepting mass extinction. And that's not, no action is a pretty bad action just because we are already making a big impact. And while genetic rescue could offer solutions like drought-resistant crops, pollution-eating microbes, that would be a wild one, resilient coral, there's still ethical dilemmas. And who decides what to edit, what countries put in rules that will balance this? This will, almost like AI alignment, this is going to take all of the big countries getting very serious about it and coming together. Because when you make these changes to, say, a mosquito population, it might ripple around the world. Just because it was okay in one country doesn't mean everybody in the world wanted that outcome. We can't really return to a pure nature that's untouched by humans at this point, just because of the carbon and the pollution and the disruption everywhere. So could we take some active roles to help it come back for the broader public? And if we get those wrong along the way, would the risks be worse than just ignoring it altogether? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Passive acceptance of catastrophic biodiversity loss. CRISPR AI interventions that might help some of it, but in some ways create something ungodly, or in some ways... Sorry, let me try that again. Or put humanity in the driver's seat. CRISPR artificial intelligence. Adapt them so it's somewhat like they were originally to try to keep the biosphere more balanced out. And then risk messing with it in ways that we can't predict, but in some ways trying to restore what we know was already there. Where do you fall? Number one action you can take right now is hit that hype button. If you didn't do it before, go to your mobile device. If you want to hype this video, it really helps it show up in the new hype board, which might be a way for me to get seen and actually get some traction after years of constant uploading. And I'm not saying 25,000 subs isn't a lot. I'm really happy about it, and I'm really thankful for all of you that do watch each week and make comments. So thank you. But it would also be really cool to get this channel until it was a much bigger brand. So have those goals, and the hype button would really help for it. And make sure to use the word hype in your comment, and I'll respond. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you in the next one.